The upgraded version of the EU programme, adopted by the European Parliament for 2014 to 2020, is Erasmus+. 14.7 billion euros will provide opportunities for over 4 million Europeans.
Our students have to study a second language as part of their degree programmes, and they spend their second year placement working in hotels in France, Spain, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Germany and Ireland for international students.
The year started with my twin city. Our children learned about Madrid and the Spanish children learned about Dublin.
Erasmus Plus has grounded me and has shown me the extraordinary impact that youth work can have on young people's lives.
These students at St Bridget's Primary School in Kildare have welcomed teachers from around Europe into their school to learn more about the cultures of their home countries.
One of our directors was already engaged with EVS. She encouraged us to get involved, which we did, so we haven't looked back since.
The growth that you get from that and being able to come back and be confident, and it just changes your life altogether.
Léargas is a national agency for European programmes in Ireland. So we manage exchange programmes across educational spheres, from adult education, school education, vocational education, and into youth work and volunteering. When Erasmus began in 2014, it was actually a merger of 7 different European programmes that dealt with all of the different sectors individually. So this was a very large transformation from Europe to bring all of those under the same headings, and run the programme from 2014 up until 2020. And the real aims and objectives of the overall programme was around increasing the quality of youth work and education across Europe. So trying to provide opportunities for teachers, schools, organisations and groups to look at what they do and see how they can leverage that through European cooperation to become even better and more relevant today. Erasmus set out to do a number of different things in terms of impact, and it's been tracked over the life of the programmes. So we see this through the reports of all of the different projects. We see some statistical reports and improvements in participants, etc. Erasmus had, at the start of this programme, approximately 160 million euros to give to organisations all over Ireland. And we've been very, very good and successful in getting that funding out. Every year we've had almost 100% drawdown of all of that funds that has gone out into all of the different educational organisations that are applying to us. And that also then means that there's a significant number of participants that have those opportunities. So over 70,000 Irish participants have had the opportunity to take part in Erasmus in the life of this programme, which is, I believe, about a 55% increase from the previous programmes.
The Promoting Green Skills Through Games project was an Erasmus Plus project which ran from 2017 to 2019. And the aim of the project was really to help support and enhance climate action education for primary schools and secondary schools. And the main way that the project did this was we developed a mobile digital game called Penji Protects the Planet, which teachers could use to introduce climate action education into the classroom in a fun and sustainable way. So this project involved the Cork Institute of Technology, which was comprised of ourselves in the Department of Technology and Advanced Learning, and Clean Technology Centre Cork. Apart from that then, we worked with an excellent game development company based in London in the UK called Cape Koala, Sustainability Experts, Prospecticor in Spain, and PINS in Croatia, and finally with the FHJ University based in Graz, Austria. So I guess one of the biggest challenges in this project is that you're dealing with a huge diversity of subject matter experts, people coming from different backgrounds, different kind of countries. So for example, in this project, we had game developers, we had sustainability experts, we had academics, we had educational technologists. And one of the big challenges is definitely, how do you make sure that everybody is kind of pulling in the same direction? How do you integrate all these different areas of knowledge and expertise into a final, usable, useful product? So definitely having a clear aim, having a clear brief helps a huge amount with that. It helps as well if you're passionate, which I think everybody in this project was, about the kind of main area, about kind of the target audience, about what you want to do for the target audience. One of the really gratifying things in terms of the project was the kind of feedback that we got from teachers, because they were so pleased to have something that could help them introduce this into the classroom in a fun way, that kind of gave them additional resources that they could build upon or even get involved in climate activism. We were told that we had been selected as a European success story by the European Commission. So that was very gratifying, I think, for the partnership. I guess that our efforts had been acknowledged and that I suppose that we were being kind of highlighted as a successful project and a project that had contributed effectively.
In Ireland, adult education is a sector that is working to support communities to be able to access learning opportunities that may not necessarily always be focused on employment. Some of the themes that we would have seen very often, I suppose, in the life of this programme in adult education would be around equality and access to adult education opportunities. And one of the ones that I think stands out in my mind is we funded a project from the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland a couple of years ago, and it was really focused, and quite relevant today, it was really focused on training courses for carers who were looking after family members with Alzheimer's, and they won an award, I think, at European level for that particular project. But that's the kind of project that we would see and the kind of sector diversity that we would see in adult education. Vocational education training, we work with lots of different organisations across Ireland. Almost in every county in Ireland, there's a vocational education training organisation that wants to take part in Erasmus projects. They're working with young people who are on a different path to education, who maybe aren't going straight into university, but also know that they want to achieve a professional level, a qualification or an apprenticeship. So we would work with a lot of different ETBs and vocational education centres, and we support their staff and their young people to access opportunities all around Europe. The school education sector is probably the one that we've seen the most growth in over the life of this programme. We've seen our participation from schools in 2014 go from 46 schools to over 140 in the 7 years. The types of themes that we see from schools are always so innovative, from looking at STEAM to looking at cultural diversity in the classroom, which is a really strong theme that we see in a lot of schools today. We have a project in Laois where a huge percentage, about 60% of the young students in that school were coming from outside of Ireland and where English was not their first language. And the staff in that school carried out a project with some partners across Europe so that they could just develop their own approach to intercultural learning and developing a more inclusive practice in the school in order to better support those children in their school experience, which is extraordinary. Youth work is very different in lots of different ways to the other educational sectors in that it's not in a formal structure. But quite often it's very planned and it's intentional learning and participation for the young people that are involved in youth work, supported by their fantastic youth workers. We have youth organisations involved in the programmes, and we also have the facility in our programmes to support individual groups of young people. So informal groups of young people can apply. So you don't have to be part of a youth club that you go to the whole time. We have a project called Involve, and it works with young travellers. And they are an organisation that started in the programme in 2014. Dipping their toes in, if you like, to try and see if a youth exchange was something that their young people would be interested to participate in. And 7 years later, that organisation is really deeply involved in strategic projects with other groups all around Europe, where they're looking at the identity issues that their young people face and perhaps some of the discrimination that their young people face on an ongoing basis, and building the confidence of those young people in terms of how they're perceived here, but also how they're perceived in other countries when they travel.
We applied for our first project in 2016, finished off the application in 2017, and we ran a KA1 student mobility project over a 2-year period, which was the academic years 2017-18 and 2018-19. When I first made contact with Léargas, the initial thing was to attend a conference in Dublin called Get Connected, and the aim of that conference was to get connections both here in Ireland and abroad and try and get a partner. Your first challenge really is your application process for the project, and it's quite extensive. I did have a really great Deputy Principal, Breda Lillis, who would have done a huge amount of work in the background with me in order to get that application over the line. So I think that was definitely our first challenge. And then on the ground, whenever you do the project, certainly from the participants' point of view, there was a couple of little challenges. We had a couple of homesickness issues. Those type of challenges can pop up from the participants' point of view.
I participated in the Erasmus Plus KA1 Student Mobility Project. So the aim of the project was for young people to gain experience abroad. I learned so much about myself and about the industry when I went abroad. I had never worked in a professional salon before. I had just been working for myself. And then it also gave me the encouragement and the nerve to continue my travel afterwards.
Our last project, it spread into 3 different departments. When the rest of the college was able to see their success, it really impacted on it, and we had other department heads wanting to get involved. So we had makeup and design students travel to work on the carnival out in Tenerife. We had the IT department come on board. They had students go to Holland for IT work placement. We had it extended into a staff mobility project, and that really had an impact. We went from 12 students to 60 plus students travelling on student mobility, and staff included separate to that as well. The support from Léargas was incredible. When you start this journey, it's information gathering that you begin with, and then the reality kicks in that you have a lot of paperwork and you have a lot of organisation and management to do of a project. There was no questions left unanswered for us. So while part of it was a little bit daunting, I think the support and the help that you get from Léargas allows you to overcome any of those challenges along the way.
Over the life of the 7 years, the bigger social issues and transformational issues that have happened across Europe have an impact on us, because we're very much living in that space where we're, as an organisation, we're very connected to our European partners. There's a Léargas national agency in every other country that we're in contact with, that we're working with on an ongoing basis. One of the biggest aspects of the challenge was that there had been very established identities for the different programmes that existed before Erasmus in terms of youth or lifelong learning or school education, and even Erasmus itself, which is known for being a programme for higher education. That was the strongest identity that was there. So a big challenge for Léargas was to continue to communicate with all of the different sectors that we were responsible for and show them that they were the plus, if you like, in Erasmus Plus, that they had a home in the programme. I would say one of the biggest wins that we've experienced in the life of this programme of Erasmus has been that we have been really successful in Ireland in bringing more inclusive organisations into the programme, a more diverse range of organisations into the programme. We have more schools, we have more different types of schools, we have more youth organisations, more different types of youth organisations, and so on through the programme. So we've been really successful in doing that and learning how to communicate that. Difference is really good. Difference is what we want. The more difference we have in the programme, the more inclusive we can be. The next cycle of Erasmus Plus starts in 2021 and goes on until 2028. What we do know already is that there are going to be 3 core priority areas across all the different sectors that we will aim to try and connect activity to. One of those is digital. Obviously, at the moment, we're all experiencing the challenges of working digitally. Another, which is unsurprising and dear to my heart, is inclusion. Inclusion will continue to be a huge priority for the programme in terms of really communicating the accessibility of the programme. And the last one is sustainability, and green Erasmus is what we're aiming for, which is interesting in the context of a mobility-based programme. And we're going to be looking forward to seeing the challenges of that and how we can actually be a more sustainable programme in the next 7 years. We will take some of the learnings from the last cycle of Erasmus Plus that we're just concluding, things like how to really support our projects to address European values, bringing them into the everyday lives of their projects and sharing those with their partners across Europe. We will take the experience that we've had in taking really big targets and very sort of high levels of demand and delivering more of that in a programme that's going to have more funding and more opportunities in the next programme life cycle. In the next 7 years, you can expect more of the good stuff that you got in the last 7 years.